Well, good morning. Welcome to another edition of Take 5. I am in the library, so I can't talk very long, so I'll get close. Hopefully, this will pick all this up. But when we left off last time, we were in Acts chapter 7, and the apostle Stephen had been arrested, and he was giving his defense. And what you're going to see in the book of Acts is when Christians get arrested and they give their defense, basically they just start testifying and tell the gospel. They don't really try to defend what they've been doing from a legal standpoint. They just take that opportunity to further get the people mad at them, I guess, by exposing the fact that they're sinners. And they put Jesus on the cross, and people generally don't like that. So you're going to see a lot of persecution in the book of Acts. But let's get back to Acts 7. And the cool thing about Acts 7, if you just read Acts chapter 7, you've got a good overview of the Old Testament right there in one chapter. But anyway, we left off about verse 23 or so that's where we're going to start from today. It's talking about Moses when he was 40 years old. It came into his heart to visit his relatives, the Israelites. When he saw one of them being wrong, he defended the oppressed man and avenged him by striking down the Egyptians. He supposed that his kinfolk would understand that God through him was rescuing them, but they did not understand. You know, sometimes you think you're helping somebody, but they don't appreciate it. Oh boy, have I been in that situation many times. I bet you have too, where you thought you were helping somebody and they just did not appreciate it. So verse 26, the next day he came to some of them as they were quarreling and tried to reconcile them, saying, "Men, you are brothers. Why do you wrong each other?" But the man who was wronging his neighbor pushed Moses aside, saying, "Who made you a ruler and judge over us?" See, right there, you look at their response. People don't like it when you stick your nose in their business. Who made you a ruler and judge over? They don't like being judged, that's for sure. So even though they're fighting with each other, they say, "Hey, leave us alone. We don't really want your help. Do you want to kill me as you killed the Egyptian yesterday?" It's like, okay, we see what you're all about now. When he heard this, Moses fled and became a resident alien in the land of Midian. There he became the father of 2 sons. So Moses just got out of town. You know, he tried to help his people. They didn't want it, so he left. And I think actually that's a good example. When we were back in the Gospels in Matthew, Jesus told his disciples, if you go to an area and they just don't want you, leave. I mean, there's only so much you can do. And so at this point, that's all Moses could do. So he left. In verse 30, now when 40 years had passed, an angel appeared to him in the wilderness of Mount Sinai in the flame of a burning bush. So 40 years. You think about this. This is God's man, and he's out in the wilderness 40 years. And I'll say this. Sometimes we go through wilderness periods. And, for example, I think I may be in one now. Long stretches of time where if you look at your life from just what's going on ministry-wise, there may not be a lot of visible effects that something's happening. However, there's definitely all kinds of things happening in your mind, in your heart, in your character, and in God's plans. All these things are happening. God's setting stuff up. So if you happen to be in a wilderness, don't think that God is done with you by any means. He's got something majorly great, probably, still in store for you. So we're still here in Acts 7. We're talking about Moses. Isn't it cool? You read the New Testament, and really we talk a lot about the Old Testament when we're in the New Testament. Verse 31, when Moses saw it, he was amazed at the sight, and as he approached to look, there came the voice of the Lord. All right, I think that's a great place to stop. We're about to hear the voice of the Lord speaking through an angel who is speaking through a flame of a bush. Yeah, that's enough to keep me interested and tune in tomorrow or soon for the next edition of Take 5.
Yeah, we breastfeed.